I just had to jump on here, like, because today is nuts. Like, are you paying attention? Ah, okay. So first is my Bernie shirt. I saw Bernie speaking. Yes, my hair is wet. I am in the middle of getting ready in the middle of the day. I know I'm such a mess. All I've been doing is watching the news. Like, let me talk to you about some things in the news. Let's talk. Let's talk. So here we go. Uh, we can talk about food stamps. We can talk about the election last night. Mondami, who I did one day of phone banking for. And what else? Like, you guys can tell me, what do you want to hear about? Redistricting. What the fuck? Like, censored, whoops. We just passed redistricting, I think 1 million in California. Like, this is not a movement of the Democrats. This is a movement of the people. So let's talk about Pennsylvania. Okay, Pennsylvania is a swing state. Pennsylvania is purple, they call it. So what happened in Pennsylvania with these judges? It seems like no big deal. I mean, it was like whatever, judges, judges. So what happened with these judges? Tons of money on both sides. So I'm not going to say it was one side or the other. Flew into this state. That's all people saw were ads about um, these Supreme Court judges, which it's a large majority of Democrats in Pennsylvania, which is surprising. Pennsylvania, I voted for it, has term limits on the Supreme Court, which would help us if we had it on the Supreme Court nationally, right? The federal Supreme Court. But we don't, but we could. So every 10 years, you have to vote to retain the people, the judges that are in there. All three of them were Democrats. Um, so what happened was they won. Not only did they retain the judges, the Democrats, but by a margin that was so large, it's undeniable that people are, hey, what's up? Uh, what It's undeniable that the people of Pennsylvania either they flipped or, hey, what's up? Either they flipped or so the results were about 80% Democrats to retain these judges. Okay. Hi guys. Thank you for joining. If you want to speak, we're talking politics. It's a crazy day in the nation. I just wanted to jump on here and just chat about it. And if you want to talk about something specific, let me know. But so Pennsylvania, we retained the Supreme Court. Why is this important? Pennsylvania is a swing state, and I'm not going to stop, but you can leave if you don't want to be here. Hi, how you doing, Render Ombre? So we've retained that in Pennsylvania, and that's extremely important, especially with the way that Trump is trying to mess with elections, because it will end up in the Supreme Court. So you want the Supreme Court to stay how it is, and it's also important for abortion rights. I'm not for like go out and have an abortion, but the right should be there because women should have the choice to do what they want with their bodies because men do. And if you don't like that, then let's make men get vasectomies. So that's how I stand. So anyway, so that's Pennsylvania. Mondami, let's talk about him. This is a crazy election, and why is it so important, right? Why are we all paying attention to a mayor? I'm so excited about this. He won by a large margin. He got 50% of the vote, even though it was split three ways, which is a big deal because usually a three-way split, you can't get a mandate. A mandate is 50%. This man won in the largest Jewish population outside of Israel as a Muslim, which shouldn't matter, but everyone thought it would, you know. And he won on a high. I'm sorry to hear about that. He won on a very populist and agenda is he's not a communist. If you look up the definition of a communist, he's not. He just is for the working class, which most people work. I would guess most people work. His agenda is for the working class, and that's who voted him in. Young people voted at a. This is the most excited young people have been probably ever in politics in our lifetime. So Mamdani scares the establishment. Both sides, both Democrats and Republicans, are afraid of him because he's after what I would call dark money. All right, dark money is money flowing in to when someone goes into office, a lot of times they go in poor and then they become millionaires. This should not happen, right? And they do so by taking money from lobbyists that interests probably don't align with yours. So, for instance, Schumer, uh, it's both sides, but I'm going to use New York as an example. Schumer is a millionaire. He takes money from lots of lobbyists. So Mamdani is a direct threat to both party systems. There are people who don't engage in insider trading, these sort of things, but it's not common. Okay, um, so what I would advocate for, what my ultimate goal is to fight for zero lobbyist interests, overturn Citizen United, and and campaign finance. None of them are sexy things, but say you have a high electric bill, okay, and your representative just took money from the electric power company. Do you not see the conflict of interest there, right? Do you guys see it? So that would be a cool thing, and that Mamdani threatens their way of life, all of them. So he's scaring them, so they're all talking all kinds of shit on him. Um, so this was a very exciting night, and the response is nuts as well, right? Like Trump came out today and was like, we're going to like complete do voter suppression. He was like, we're doing voter ID and we're doing we're getting rid of mail-in ballots, even though he won by mail-in ballots and things like that. So this is like um, this is a big deal, right? Like we just shook the earth, our earth, right? Um, and let's talk about food stamps, right? So the money that there's an emergency fund of, I think it's $3 or $5 billion, and it's enough to fund food stamps. So let me jump to a question. So do I think we shouldn't have strict voting regulations? I have been a judge of elections. I was the head of my precinct, and I was in charge of the whole voting system in Pennsylvania, which is one of the most strict there is. Um, and it is strict. It is already strict. The laws that these people want to pass are not there to make it more strict. They're there to marginalize certain populations, poor people, older people, minorities, things like that. Because the people who don't have IDs and don't drive tend to have or are rural poor or urban poor. Um, so the IDs, like you already have to, when you sign up for your voter registration, it's checked through the system as a person. You are in the system and checked when you come in. The first time you come in, you are ID'd. And then you have to sign the signature. So the system is already set up in a very strict manner. The voter rolls are purged. No one, there's about 2 cases of voter fraud per year in all of America out of 350 million people. And they're caught, right? Because people, it's a felony and you go to prison. So not a lot of people are willing to do this. So there's not a lot of voter fraud. It's actually kind of like a myth put out there to suppress certain groups, usually minorities, usually people who are the working class like that. So so no, I don't think we need any stricter voting regulations than we have. And then like so people are cross-checked about 3 times after they vote. And you know, the system is so it's so precise. So like in Pennsylvania, we have you can have a paper ballot, and then the paper ballot gets counted, and then the electronic printout, and then these are double checked and triple checked by people that are of both parties have to sign off on it. So it is incredibly strict. There is not a way to slide through fake votes. Um, um, so the, the voting ID laws are typically put in. I'm not opposed necessarily for voter ID laws, but they're typically imposed in a way that it has to be a certain type of vote ID that people it's hard for them to obtain in time for the next election. They don't give enough time. People don't have the hours. They work the same hours, and we already yeah, it is used to suppress the vote, okay? So in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, so it's about as strict as it gets, you show your ID the first time. And then your name is in, you're all in the system, and then you just come vote each time, right? Um, and there's almost zero fraud. You can look it up. Someone has, in order to commit voter fraud, you have to have not just attempted, but actually gotten through the system and your vote was counted. And like I said, there's about 2 per year, and the last ones that have been caught were all Republicans. Republicans are always about suppressing the vote. Do you want to know why? Do you guys want to know why? So the reason that Republicans are about suppressing the vote is because they don't have as much of a base as the Democrats. There's about 43 to 45% of them, and it's not growing. And the Democrats are about 50 some percent of voters. So we don't need to suppress the vote. We, of course, believe in voter laws and having rules, and we have them, okay? So there are poll watchers. People from both sides are allowed to watch the whole system. They're Republicans and Democrats and people from certain groups are allowed to come in and watch them. Um, right, you can look up voter fraud. Um, it doesn't happen, you know, and the party that wants to say that it does happen is usually the one trying to do it. But most people are not willing to go to prison to vote for twice or whatever they do for a person, right? Um, so so anyway, so that's how I feel about that. And I think that if you haven't done it, you should volunteer as a poll worker. If you feel so strongly about it, tell me how the system is working. Because I think that I did it, and now I know the system very well. Uh, you know what? So I think it's just us talking, but that's okay. So people who are allowed to vote, it varies by state actually. If you are a felon, an ex-felon, usually you have to have paid all debts to society. If you come out of prison, you have to have contributed to you have to have finished your any fines you have, and you have to have finished your sentence and things like that. So um, if we believe in the system and the purpose of prison is for people to pay their debts to society, be reformed. I don't really think we do that, but we should. So once you're out, you have the right. I believe everyone has the right to vote, whether you like it or not. As a citizen of the United States of America, everyone has the right to vote. It doesn't matter if you have a criminal background. You were given that right at birth, and that is something that's really awesome, actually. And we don't want to deny that from anyone. And the people who are allowed to vote, if they do have a criminal background, they have paid their debt to society. And not only, I believe, to change the subject, that um, they should also be able to have jobs. Like I just saw a post in a community group about someone who, like, couldn't get a job because of their criminal record. Now, if we believe that people go to prison and pay their debt to society, then and then they have background checks and they can't get jobs. So that's a shitty system. Um, but it's anyway. So elections. So it is not a coincidence that Trump, the day after there was a huge sweep, a Democratic sweep, or anti-Trump sweep, whatever you want to call it, last night, that today he's coming up with voter ID. That's not about stricter voting laws. That's about voter suppression. And do you guys understand gerrymandering and redistricting? What was done? Each district to the House is drawn. It's supposed to be drawn in your state to accommodate groups of people that are alike, and also with barriers, natural barriers. Like there's a river there, and these are actually physically drawn through your state. But what Trump demanded that is done is for all of the red states to redistrict so that they find more seats because they can't win legitimately. Um, and so not Florida, California, yes, did it in reverse, right? They redistricted to counteract Texas. Now, this is like, I don't think this has ever been done in American history. There's never been states at war like this except the Civil War. It's not typical, but California voted for that by a margin of, I think, about a million more people voted for it than voted against it. So overwhelmingly, California wanted to be involved. So it wasn't done against the will of the people. Um, I'm not necessarily for this kind of redistricting. I think that it should be done for for good. But right now, we're kind of in a war, and it's really scary. And my state actually can redistrict as well, and they're kind of going over whether they will do it or not. Um, and I was against it, and that now I'm kind of for it, you know. But what else do you guys think? What do you think of what's going on with withholding food stamps and federal workers being laid off? They don't need to be laid off during this shutdown, and and the shutdown in general. Like so there's a large voice for, and I think a large voice against this shutdown, and who's responsible, right? Is it a Republican? Is it a Democrat shutdown? Um, this shutdown is to save healthcare, and it's not. Uh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope, like, I think that, like, if this comes through, if the Democrats come through this, it's either we get through this or we have an authoritarian government. So, you know, if we come through this, the new Democrats are going to be like Mandami. That's my prediction. They're going to be more for the working class, and they're going to fight more for the people. I understand not wanting to be either side, um, but so why do you feel that way, OXRX and XJ? Why did you switch um, or things? Because I'm interested. This is this is something that is a huge. We're in a fugue state. That means that, like, the whole country is reshaping, and we're either going to go in one direction towards an authoritarian dictatorship, or we're going to come out of this, I think, a lot more like progressives or populists. Um, people, I think that this is, it could be a good thing, but we have to change. The the Democrats have to change if they're going to get through this, because the old way of doing things, the Schumer Democrats, the people who are millionaires, will will not get us through this, right? So we can all hope that, and there are problems I have with the progressive side of things too, but you're not going to have everything you want. Um, I've been so a little bit about myself. I have been a an organizer. And now, an organizer is someone who, works for a cause. Sorry, my battery's dying. How long I'm going to take? Um, but uh, it is hard to know what to do. I think it's very clear. I just think that some of the Democrats suck. But the young ones, if you look up the young ones coming up, they're more like Mandani. They're more like um, uh, Bernie, AOC, you know, um, these are the kind of people that I believe are going to fight for us. And I didn't believe this, actually. I changed too. I used to be more of a pragmatic Democrat, where like I believed in like Hillary and things like that and the establishment. And now I think that they're corrupt, and I think that we're going to have to kind of overtake them, the younger up and coming Democrats. There's a guy named David Hodge. He is a young man who survived a school shooting and is now in politics. He was like the vice chair of the DNC, but they kicked him out because he's working to get uh Buttigieg. Buttigieg? Um, you're talking about Buttigieg. He is great. He is very level headed. Uh, he was supposed to be the VP or presidential nominee, but he wasn't. But he's still around. He is. You could look him up on Instagram and stuff and follow him. He's still speaking out. He's speaking out hardcore now. But he is very level headed, and has a demeanor that's very calm and positive. You're right, and I like. I think that if you like him, you might like the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro. I think he's similar. He's level-headed, common sense kind of person. Um, so there's some really great up and coming people. So like, don't lose faith in the political system. Please don't be a non-voter. If anything, run for your. I'm thinking about running for myself because I don't like the candidates in my area. So like, give it a chance. I think that there's some great people coming up out of this terrible situation we're in, right? So, like food stamps. If you're not on food stamps, I had been at one point because I have disability. Um, uh, you know, so the food stamps is used as leverage. They're using like 20 million people and mostly children, about 30% children, as leverage. The president is for the shutdown, and that's just disgusting. Yes, both sides could end it, right? But please understand that one is it's not that they're not budging, they quit, they left, right? One side, they closed the government, and now what the Democrats are fighting for is our health care. It's not just people, and it's not just people who have Medicaid or, although it is, and there's nothing wrong with Medicaid. And then there's also people who have the Affordable Care Act and keeping the subsidies lower. So what happens, that's what this is about, the shutdown. And Democrats not budging is actually, I believe, a good thing, and I don't think we should budge because the healthcare for the whole nation will go up if this goes through. It's like a too big to fail situation. So if this many people's insurance goes up, which people with the ACA, theirs will will double, right? So imagine my mom has her insurance is $800 through I believe the ACA, and next month, or it's going up to next year to 1,300. So most people can't afford that. And it's going to make everyone's go up because so many people are losing their insurance that it's going to make everyone's insurance go up. Even private insurance will go up some, you know. So this is not okay. And this is just people stealing the money of the people. All right. That money is there, taxes, whatever, for you. It is not there to give tax breaks to Amazon, tax breaks to the rich, which is this is what was done with that money. Tax breaks to Zuckerberg, okay? Facebook, what do they need your money for? Taxes are there for you. They're there for your. I think we are so indoctrinated in America to not believe that our government is there for us. You pay taxes in return for a service. Those services are the post office. Those services are healthcare or help with healthcare, right? So subsidies for things. There's subsidies for. There should be subsidies for insurances. There should be subsidies for people who buy to help you buy a home, to help you with your student loans. This is what the government is there for. It's supposed to be your safety net. And maybe food stamps to you doesn't sound like something that's important, but as someone who never thought they would have it, but I had a disability and I needed it for a little bit, and grandmothers are on it, you know, when you get old, sometimes you need it. This is what the government is is supposed to do. It's supposed to keep you from being impoverished in the street, okay? It is not there to give tax breaks to the rich. The rich right now pay more than the middle class. Now tell me that that is not crazy. That is a fact. You can look it up. The average American pays about 30% to the government. And the average, like, say, millionaire, billionaire pays about 10%. Now, do you think that that's not right, right? So, so I understand that people don't like the shutdown, but the fight is for everyone, even the federal workers who are really pissed off. We have a lot of them in my state. I'm near DC. They're really upset, but the fight is for them too because it will make their insurance go up if the Republicans get their way. They are only trying. They're only trying to steal your money, right? Um, I believe in at least an option of Medicare for all or Medicaid. Um, and that would give everyone, regardless of having, it shouldn't be dependent on whether or not you have a job. I believe that insurance should be available to you no matter what. So, um, exactly. Capitalism is designed to suck wealth to the top, right? And in a good, there should be a good. I'm not saying capitalism is wrong, but there should be a good mix of capitalism and a little bit of socialism, right? Like a little bit of subsidies and help and a net, because it doesn't succeed. You know, like there are people left behind, the homeless, the vets, and the grandmas and the new immigrants, the working poor. These people need a little bump, and that's okay. And there needs to be regulations on capitalism because it can't be left unchecked. Um, the the top, if you look to, there's a good AMC, I think it's AMC, who made this this thing. It was called "The Men Who Made America," and it was about Carnegie and Rockefeller and stuff. And this was the time of the great disparity. And this is the goal of Trump and the Republicans right now, is to have only two classes: the extreme poor, right? The work, the feast, the bottom, and the top. And an extreme wealth and extreme impoverished population. That is their goal. And when we have a little bit of help for education, for better jobs, and a little bit of regulation on corporations so that they have to pay a certain amount. This is what unions do too, right? Uh, Pay a certain amount, make sure that people can live off of it, so that there's not a usurping of power. So there's a nice mix, you know. But what their goal is definitely to go back to the 1920s and things like that. But so I just wanted to hop on and discuss these things because I think that a lot is happening and it's happening fast. And I do understand a lot of it because this is like my hobby. It's my life. It's what I do. It was my job. Have been arrested for protesting. I was That was a long time ago, but I was an organizer for communities, for unions, for campaigns, and I hope to get back into it now. So it's something that I follow very closely. Um, I'm sorry, I'm reading. The thing is, they have. That's awesome. Thanks. The thing is that's interesting is the Democrats and the working class of the Democrats and the people who align themselves with the Republican Party that are not wealthy actually have more in common with each other, and we all have more in common with immigrants, with minorities, than we do with this billionaire class, and so do Trump voters. So I think that a new class of Democrats can include everyone because everyone is sick of paying tariffs, right? Um, we have we we have more in common. It sucks right now, right? Like we should not be paying tariffs on beef and on China and this and that and that this kind of stuff. It doesn't benefit us in any way. So, and we are all feeling this, right? It's not just us. More people are on food step, SNAP than in red states than in blue states. So, you know, we all have more in common. So the working class needs to unite, red or blue. And that's what I think the progressives are of the Democratic Party. But I don't think they're Democrats because Schumer didn't endorse Mandami, right? He says he's a democratic socialist, but he's the same as the progressives, kind of, right? The working class needs to come together. Um, and I think they are. And I think that you can find, if you look through and you watch these people, uh, I do. Uh, I have a couple. Miller Graceland, if you want to find me uh, on Instagram. Um, but I think that, or you could message me if you want to leave a message to find you to follow you. I can do that too. Um, so I'm trying to like thinking about running in my state because I think they're a bunch of lazy Democrats, and I would like to replace mine. But so I'm gonna hop off here. I'll put up when I want to have my next live chat. But leave in the comments anything you want to discuss. You know, if you want to come back and we can discuss the redistricting, or we can discuss. Um, it's Grace Lindsay or Miller Graceland, I believe. But you can leave yours, and I can follow you if you'd like. Um, in my comments here. But um, but I think that like we can all work together. I'm in the indivisible groups. If you want to find someone fighting for you, check out indivisible groups near you. We have like three, um, and they're awesome. Like you know, they organize all kinds of. They're doing food drives and they're doing like protests and they're doing all this kind of stuff. But we can talk more about this. Like I think that like let's get more into like how people have more in common. And I think it's something like that that we need to tap into. That rural, poor, and working class has, and then unions, and the Democratic Party and immigrants and minorities have more in common with each other and need to have their own party, right? So, all right. So I'm gonna I agree talking to all sides too. And most people are sick of me because I talk about nothing but politics. But I think right now we're in a pivotal moment. I feel optimistic today, but normally I am freaking out because this is, if you look at any authoritarian government that exists or has existed, the Philippines, if you looked at them, how Russia was formed, how it happened, is everything that Trump is trying to do. He is not acting as a president. He is acting as a dictator, and he is trying to take over. Um, he's trying to take over for life. Like when he says he's running in 2028, I think he thinks he is. And he's rolling over our constitution. Um, he's rolling over our courts. Not giving out the food stamps is not an option. The courts have ruled that he has to give the money, and he is not. Um, so he is disobeying the laws, which is. So this is a really we did leave something easy to exploit. We left some holes, and I think that we're at a very scary time. So like um I think that this is it's either going to turn out really bad, we're going to turn into like something like Russia or the Philippines was with Duterte, or we're going to come out of this more united and more for the people as a government. Because I think more and more people are getting involved in politics, right? Like they're seeing the effect of not being involved. So everyone's involved. People are doing things that they never did before, like protesting, organizing, watching the news. So yeah, I think to me the middle party is a populist, progressive kind of party. There's one called the Working Families Party, um, and the Working Families is a cool one that I've worked with too. Um, all right, but I'm gonna hop off if I can. But it was great chatting, and I will let you know when we'll have our next chat, and let me know what your Instagram is, and I will give it a follow. All right. Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.